And good evening once again. It is time for the worst 120 minutes or so in all of sports podcasting. That's right. It's time once again for the Too Many Guys soccer show. But we're down a couple of guys tonight. Um, First and foremost, London Sean messaged us late and said that he was feeling under the weather. So, to London Sean, if you see and or listen to this, first question is why would you do that? If you were feeling bad, this will only make you feel worse. But we wish you a speedy recovery and hope all is well. So, Stead, it's like the good old days.
Yeah, for real. I was just thinking
Mhm.
that this is kind of a throwback. We haven't done this in a while.
So, how's your bracket looking, buddy?
You know what? This is the first year that I didn't make one, and I'm glad I didn't. Um, because clearly everybody's bracket is busted. ESPN reported that the last perfect bracket fell down. I think
Yesterday.
it busted yesterday, so nobody made it through the round of 64 perfect. I think that's the first one that's happened in quite a while. So yeah, and I also didn't fill it out because this is the first season that I have not watched a single college basketball game or a single highlight, and that is due to COVID and life circumstances, of course, because I've always loved the March Madness and the bubble. Of course, I'm pulling for Georgetown because local team. My grandparents were fans of the team. They were friends with Coach John Thompson, and so that's
That
kind of
didn't work out
good.
for you.
Huh?
That didn't work out.
No, it didn't. And so, outside of that, I was like, I don't even know who's in. I heard Sister Jean has made a comeback. So,
Well, I would like to thank Sister Jean and because I didn't play a bracket, but I did place uh, a few odd bets. Normally, my go-to is betting all four of the 12 seeds over the 5 seeds. Uh, Previously, you could get pretty good odds. Um, end up like five. You'd end up like 5 to 1, 6 to 1, something like that. And so, if you won one of the four, you were profitable. But they weren't. Like the only one that hit for me this year was was Oregon State. And while it made me some of my money back that I bet back, it didn't make all of it. But I would like to thank Oregon State. Maryland over UConn got me in the black, and then I got Illinois Chicago. The minute I heard that Sister Jean was back and that she was going to Indianapolis with the team, I said, I know that if they win their first round game, they have to play Illinois, and Illinois is on a lot of people's favorites for tournament champ. But I'm taking the plus 1100, and I'm going out and betting on Loyola Chicago to make the Sweet 16. And sure enough, that hit yesterday. So that made an otherwise rough weekend a little more palatable.
yeah.
Uh, and of course, uh, First Lady Dr. Biden got involved and wished Villanova luck. I thought they were going to get beat their first game because they're without Colin Gillespie, their star player, but they have won both games. But now they're up. They've got a rough one coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see how that how it goes for Nova. I forget which one of the surviving number one seeds they have, but yeah. So it was
It's
an
been
interesting
difficult.
ride.
It's been difficult though this year. You gotta really feel. I mean, isn't there a squad though that just like they were like, you got COVID issues. All right, we're just gonna advance the other teams. Like,
VCU.
yeah,
VCU had a bunch of positive COVID tests.
and they just said, all right, bye.
Mm-hmm.
That made me chuckle though. That was kind of funny because
Yeah, Villanova has Baylor, who looked really, really good.
yeah,
So that's going to be a tough one. They're
yeah,
right now. Michigan is struggling a little bit with LSU. They're the only, and Illinois is out. So the only
yeah,
two remaining run seeds right now are Gonzaga, who look really good, and they're unbeaten,
mm-hmm.
and Baylor. But yeah, VCU had a bunch of positive COVID tests, and they
Yeah,
just advanced Oregon.
yeah. And
And Oregon got a
Oregon
big
beat
win
Iowa
today.
today.
Yeah, they knocked out Iowa today, and Iowa was a team that a lot of people liked. Um, I know you remember DJ Kamish when he was on a
Yep.
couple of weeks ago, but he was
Mm-hmm.
saying earlier, he said he thinks, no disrespect to the World Cup, which I have to say is probably like my favorite sporting event, but he
Mm-hmm.
said, this tournament has got to be the best annual playoff tournament that we have.
Yeah.
And I would have to agree, you know.
Yeah. I would have to agree too. I would. I think it's very difficult to. The way the tournament is situated, where you actually have, I mean, I discount the first four. I mean, it's a fun thing. I think it's like it's making money for the NCAA, so I
Mhm.
guess they can do that. I guess it kind of gives people a chance to get a game in. But when you look at it's a tournament that's got 64 teams and a single elimination tournament, and it's basketball, that's what makes it really really special. I think because basketball is a game where teams can go on runs and score 20 quick points and all of a sudden you're out of the game,
Mhm.
and it doesn't really mean a whole lot about like you can have a bad matchup one day, but if you can just kind of run through it, you can get lucky. You can actually make a run. So that's why you'll see teams that aren't quite as competitive in the grand scheme of things. You only have to really be good one time. And I always go back to this: the most, out of all the sporting events I've been to, the greatest sporting event I've ever seen was actually when George Mason beat UConn to go to the Final Four. And I was at that game here in DC. And I remember this distinctly because it was sort of a local home game for George Mason in a way. Because if you looked at the lower bowl were clearly the seats that the NCAA provided, because it was full of corporate types and a lot of UConn fans and a lot of people that just seemed to be really into college basketball. But when you got up in the nosebleeds, it was all Mason fans, and it was electric in there. And I remember sitting there with my buddy John, and we are looking around the stadium, and it's about 10 minutes left to go in the second half, and Mason's just hanging around. And I go, I think they can do this. Like, I bet they're going to win this game. And sure enough, they just wouldn't go away. And then they took the lead and won the game. And we sat there the whole time and just watched, going, this is a once in a lifetime experience. The fact that I can say I was at that game the first time, like a really low seed made the Final Four, was pretty special. So I'm going to have a tough time saying that there's a better tournament out there than that.
There may have been a situation hypothetically because I believe that game was played on a Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was.
There may have been a hypothetical situation where a certain group of UConn players may or may not have been seen at Love Nightclub the
Really?
night before the game.
That's funny.
I'm not going to name names or necessarily get too much started, but
Yeah.
just I have it on very good authority.
Yeah, and having.
Or in the words of the characters from Billionaires,
Mhm.
I'm not uncertain that there were some UConn players who were at the nightclub the night before.
That is classic. Because my cousin used to know the owners of that place. I think it was Dream before it was Love. Now it's a seafood restaurant, I think.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
they said before those nightclubs had like a 5-10 year run.
Yeah.
So
Oh
Mark
yeah.
Lawrence made his money and he was
Yeah.
gonna get out of
It's
it.
a, you know what though, but I was there. I was at the venue a couple of years ago with my wife, and I gotta say, it was a good time. It was a good time. They had like an old school room in the back, bunch of old players with the sweatsuits on. It was cool. It was cool. They had a nice little restaurant. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it. We're
they
trying to
got
go
you.
back there.
But I mean, there is nothing in sports that is like the first weekend of the NCAA tournament
Agreed.
where
Agreed.
you can wake up at noon
Hmm.
Eastern time and watch basketball for a solid 12 hours
Yeah.
continuously.
Hmm.
And there's always at least one game on.
Yeah.
And you just sit and you watch. There's nothing quite like the first weekend
Hmm.
of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just
There's
nothing.
nothing like it. Yeah.
And like
The Thursday and Friday in particular. I mean,
mhm,
that's just electric. And I mean, we always said those are the worst days at school. All your kids are checking their brackets. I taught, my math class. We spent half the class talking about about the numbers of the seeds and everything like that, and who was seeded and what.
Oh, I always
And
try and find a geography lesson in there
oh,
to work it out
absolutely,
or something like that where,
yeah,
I ask the kids to find the states that the,
yep,
different colleges are
yep,
in or something like that,
yep,
so I can have an excuse to put it on because nobody's
absolutely.
paying attention.
No, no one is. And every kid is into it. Every kid. All the boys, all the girls, they're all into it. Everyone's got their brackets. I mean, even the people that aren't really familiar with the game, they know how to fill out a bracket and they want to fill out a
Mhm.
bracket. And they go to a little bit of research. I had a girl I used to work with, and she finished in the top 3 of our bracket, and she picked her bracket based on which uniform she liked better. And so,
There
you never know. You never know.
you hear stories of that all the time.
Hmm.
A couple of teachers at one school said, pick Butler in the year that they went
Yep.
to the championship game.
My wife did that. My wife, she picked Butler to win it, and she said if Butler had made that shot, she would have won the tournament. And I was like, you don't even like basketball,
But that's the thing
but
about the
she
NCAA
was on
tournament.
Butler. Yeah.
You hear these stories of the people who win the tournaments, and it's like,
Hmm.
you got guys like me who are sitting down with like point spreads,
Yep.
venues, considering,
Yep.
oh, well, this game's being played here at this time against
Yep.
this person who this
Hmm.
team's never traveled west of the Mississippi.
Hmm.
Duke's only really good, but if they play their games outside of
Yep.
ACC territory in North
Yep.
Carolina, they might.
Yep.
And then meanwhile, it's like, well, mascot determination. I think a
Yeah.
bear could beat a Jayhawk. Ergo, I'm gonna pick Cal, who is baby 500 to beat Kansas, and sure
Yep.
enough, it happens.
It'll happen. It'll happen. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You can't. You really can't beat it. You can't beat it. I've had years where I haven't watched any college basketball and fill out a bracket and been like and just totally fallen into it. It sucks you in like no other tournament, and it's that opening weekend. I mean, I've actually, me, Mike, I kind of get bored with things rather quickly. I've gotten bored with the tournament by the final weekend, but those first when they get to the Sweet 16 is just it's really really special. It's really special. It's one of the things because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of the NCAA. I don't like the way they treat their students. I don't like the way I feel like they're fleecing a lot of money out of these kids. But this tournament is the best tournament that's run that I've ever seen. That I've ever seen. Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of not being a fan of how the NCAA, one of the guys from Michigan came out in a warm-ups, a T-shirt for warm-ups that said "not NCAA property."
Good for him. Good for him.
They've often asked him one of the questions when Leo used to do this all the time. Uncle Leo used to do this. He would ask, what would happen if the teams, uh, two teams, just refused to play? Like you got to the Final Four or the NCAA championship game, and they were like, forget you, pay me.
Hmm.
What would the NCAA do?
Yeah.
And he said he had it on good authority from somebody that had almost happened once.
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't know the veracity of that claim, but it is an interesting thought experiment
Yeah.
as to what.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In addition to the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, we had a little bit of Six Nations rugby. I don't know if you caught any of those games.
I caught it. I caught it, man.
Well,
I was
you can
really
see
Wales. They just couldn't pull out that last game. It's going to take an absolute miracle for France. I think France still has some sort of outside shot to. I know they can equalize on points, but
mhm.
I
They can
was
equalize on points, but they need like
but
a three-try bonus
yeah,
point victory
absolutely.
to overtake them on point differential
Right.
to
And they're
win.
playing Scotland. They're not playing Italy or even England for that
Yeah,
matter. So it's
but
gonna be tough because I jumped on the Wales bandwagon after the first weekend and I was like, you know what? These guys don't look like athletes, man, but they can play some rugby. Don't run into them because they'll flatten you out. And they almost
uh,
had it. They almost had it.
somebody else was saying that like they just play like a team.
They do.
They,
Absolutely.
they, they just
Absolutely.
play
I'm going
like
to
a
actually
professional.
I couldn't watch the game through and through because, distracted with family and stuff like that, but I have it on my Peacock. I'm going to watch it again at some point this week and just really watch from beginning to end because I really was pulling for that. I normally because and it's funny thing is I often pull for France in these kinds of situations, but I don't know. Early on, I was really pulling for Wales, so I was hoping that they could get a clean sweep in this one.
The funny thing was, as bad as Ireland were the first couple of weeks of the tournament, they look like they're now nailed on to finish third.
Yeah,
I think they are nailed on to
yeah,
finish third. Beating up on Italy.
Mm-hmm.
After a heartbreak, they lost to France, beat up, finally got one by Scotland, but then
Yeah.
they just, even going down a man, they were just so much better
Yeah.
than England this weekend. So,
Let's see if we can get Cam on next week, and we can wrap up Six Nations.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get Cam on and wrap up Six Nations. But in actual soccer news.
Oh yeah, that's what this show's about. I forgot. Yeah, it's about soccer.
Well, no, you know what? We were waiting because we were only two guys, and the show was too many guys, so we had to wait for the other guy to get here. So,
That's
Mikey,
true.
we were waiting on you to talk about soccer. So we welcome in our good friend, Chelsea Mike. The one team of all of us that is actually left in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
It's your thought. So you wanted to review the FA Cup. So yeah, go for it, because all I can tell you was I was disappointed, and as I was telling Stead, Sister Jean made it up to me, because that certainly made that money that I made on Loyola Chicago this weekend certainly made my weekend a lot better, and made it possible to tolerate that disappointing United finish. But Chelsea into the semifinals. Mr. Tuchel still has not lost a game.
He's got the magic touch.
Yeah, he does. And I mean, what can you say about that performance? Not a lot. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't exciting, but it was effective. For a lot of the middle of the second half, closing in towards the end, it really looked like Sheffield were going to get the equalizer, but the defense held, and the defense has been holding for Thomas Tuchel. I don't know what it is, but he's got a magic wand or something that'll push him a Goldrick ball a foot wide of the post, when for all the world it should have gone in. It was 2-0. It wasn't pretty. But they didn't start their, what you would expect to be their normal starting 11. Gave Christian Pulisic a chance to go out there. He was the BBC's man of the match too. So that's a positive thing for Pulisic. Of course, we as Americans are always hoping for him, and every time I come on, I've got to answer the question about why isn't Pulisic playing. He did. He had a very, very good, if not great game. Created some chances. Probably should have finished one, but at the end of the day, he had a very good performance. It's been their defense though, and the Ziyech goal at the end, the 2-0, was almost unfair. But in a lot of ways, it was the best match of the weekend. I thought, to watch it. Although, of course, the Man City Everton game was very competitive for a lot of it. With Everton having a lot of the better chances throughout most of the game. I think Joao Virginia is really establishing a name for himself in goal. 21 or 22. But he stepped up and had some very big saves. It wasn't enough. One of his saves went off the crossbar and Gundogan put it in. Mm-hmm. But to me, he was almost the highlight of that match. With the other match, we'll get to Man U last, because I just have questions for you about that. But the other match, you've got I was excited for it, honestly, and I love watching the lower levels of English football. Bournemouth had come in, not exceptional form, but a draw and 2 wins, sitting in 7th. in the championship, just 3 points off the playoff spot held by Reading. And then you had a Southampton side that they lost 10 out of their last 12 Premier League matches. It just seemed ripe for upset, but that upset wasn't to be. Redmond scored 2, and really Southampton looked dominant in the game for the first time.
It looked like Southampton of 2020,
Mhm.
Right, yeah.
Well, what better time to sort of pull one out when it's a chance to go? And for Leicester and Southampton, certainly it's a big deal and to get to the semifinal. I mean, I thought Chelsea's performance was sort of the pragmatic. The one thing that you've got to say about Tuchel is he at Dortmund he was trying to, I think, copy Klopp a little bit too much with the insistence on the free flowing kind of gegenpress type. This is the style of the club. I think when he got to PSG, he learned how to be a little bit more pragmatic about how he was going to play, who he was going to play. He realized, I've got Neymar, I've got Mbappe. The best way to win games is to get them the ball as quickly as possible, as often as possible, running downhill and let them create, right? So,
Right.
we're going to set up the entire team to service these two guys. And if you've got Mbappe and Neymar, let's not forget that Di Maria is typically your other winger, and he's no slouch himself.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got those players, that's not a bad game plan, right? And it worked. I think with Chelsea, though, he's seen a little bit more of the English game and taking a book out of Jose's playbook, control possession, kind of play the game at the pace that we want to, create those 1 or 2 chances that we need a game to win and put those in, but focus on defense first. And you and I, Mike, have talked a lot offline about this and trying to search for what is the Chelsea identity. We can associate sort of the free-flowing counterattacking football with the counterattack with Manchester United, Wenger ball with Arsenal, but what Chelsea, when they've been at their best, their most successful seasons have been kind of when they play that sort of attritional, almost dull football. And it's worked, and maybe Tuchel has gone back to it. If that is I guess the question is, if that's your identity and it is successful, are you okay with that?
I mean, I guess I have to be, right? It's all about the trophies. For me anyway. And frankly, I don't care how we get them. To me, this team just has, it just has the offensive firepower that it's not as bad as it was under Mourinho. It was, that was the game plan, was grinded out, and that was it. I mean, Tuchel, that's the way it has been. But for me, I don't know. I don't know if I could put my finger on how to explain it. It's been a little bit more exciting. It might have to do with just the amount of offensive talent that they have. They're not draw. I mean, they have drawn games 0-0. But it's Jose. If there was a draw with Jose, I mean, 90% of the time it was 0-0. There's something a little bit more exciting. Maybe it's just the 3 at the front. A more attacking formation is the way of the game now. Wing backs are forward more. But I don't know if Chelsea's style is grind out 1-0 victories from now until the end of time. I'm not taking this crest off my chest, man.
I mean, Stead, remember, 1-0 to the Arsenal was a very famous slogan for a lot of
Absolutely.
years pre-Wenger.
Absolutely. And considering how uh, normally it's always when it is 1-0 in an Arsenal game, they usually have gone down 1-0. So I would totally take 1-0 to the Arsenal anytime right now. So yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And also the it's easy to discount that type of game when you're not winning. And when you are winning, then it's also like everybody can take everything with a bit of a grain of salt when you're putting W's up. And it's because if you're drawing all the time, that's not good. I mean, Arsenal last year drew what 13, 14 games. That's not good. But if you're winning, okay, well then that becomes a bit more. You're watching the game from the standpoint of all right, let's lock them down. We got our goal, let's lock them down, as opposed to we have to get more and more and more and more because we don't know if our defense is going to be able to hold. So I can't discount it. And to say, as a fan of the game though, as a neutral, I can't even say that I mind it if it's played well. You know, if you see a team that's positioned well and that they're holding flanks well and that the center backs are just giving the other team nothing, that can be enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very strong difference where a game's 0-0 and the midfield's just sloppy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's back and forth. There's never a flow to the game. That's a way different game than
Mm-hmm.
you know two teams tactically trying to take each other apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talk about the game for the purists, you know.
Right.
You know, I think after a while, and I am a purist, I think sometimes those get a little bit lacking. But certainly, I can say that on many occasions, I've seen that and been thrilled, mostly because you just fear that other goal, that equalizing goal,
Mm-hmm.
that could turn the tie on its head. I remember very much in 2008, um, United versus Barcelona in the Champions League semifinals,
Mm-hmm.
and it was 1-1 at the Camp Nou, and then holding out for pretty much 60 some odd minutes, if not more, at 1-0, hoping to get into the Champions League final and waiting for that whistle to blow because you knew what it meant. But then again, I've also watched Jose Mourinho grind out 1-0 with a United team that finished second in the league that year, feeling as though this is not the way forward in this game.
Mm-hmm. We saw the
Because
limitations of what that did. Yeah.
the focus is so much on trying to minimize opportunities for the other team that you offer little going forward. And the recognition that if you create 3 chances per game, you better hope that one of those 3 goes in, because that's all you're going to get. And recognizing when we played against teams like Liverpool or City, right? If everything went perfectly, yeah, we could have a game like we had against Liverpool late in the season a couple of years ago, where we beat them 2-0, and Marcus Rashford and the midfield just systematically took Liverpool apart. Or we could have another repeat of the Ajax game in the Champions League final, which again was another 2-0 victory. But just even the tactics in that game were just so depressing, because it was perpetually let the ball get in, lump it downfield, and force Ajax to rebuild, because we knew they had to build from the back. Wait to capitalize on a couple of mistakes, score those, and that's it. And Jose admitted that was exactly what he wanted them to do. He was like, I don't care if they have put together 26 passes. As long as they're putting 26 passes starting in their half of the field, they can work the ball forward. We'll lump it back down there and let them do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that kind of stuff was boring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you're right, though, Mikey. Insofar as I think Tuchel's got a different brand of it. It's just maybe it's not, he hasn't fully unlocked the capabilities of the offense that he wants to yet.
And I think that's the hope of it, right? Like, because Chelsea are seeing like clear sights of gold, and like very distinct chances that you would expect a team that's going to say win the league to capitalize on, that they just aren't yet. I think that's got a lot to do with the youth up front. With the exception of Olivier Giroud, who's just got a billboard for a head that you want to put it towards.
But when you spend the
Still
money
missing.
on the likes of Kai Havertz and Pulisic and Timo Werner that they have, and when you have the expectations for Tammy Abraham that you have, getting clear shots of goal and not putting them away starts to become a bit of an issue. Like, I bought you because your propensity was to put those opportunities away. You know, I understand, like, not every striker, striking is not like basketball, right? If you had a striker who converted 50% of their chances, they'd probably be Holland.
Yeah, like Pele.
Yeah. I mean, that's that guy that was, I think he was Hungarian, not the one that we're all thinking of. It's an older player who scored like over a goal a game for his whole career.
Puskás?
No, it's not Puskás. It's another guy. I mean, I'll find it in a second. But apparently, he was like his goal scoring was just off the charts compared to everyone else in history. But that was also back in like the 30s or 40s or something like that.
Yeah, when they basically played with a block.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, that was back in the day when those seams were on the ball, and like you were taking a risk every time that you headed the ball.
Oh yeah.
It was like heading a medicine ball.
Yeah.
All right, Mikey, I have delayed it long enough. Lay it on me. What is your thoughts on the Leicester men?
I mean, this is just a question to you. There's the international break coming up. I know that a lot of those guys are going to go play. I'm sure a lot of their international managers probably would like to see them fresh, but why aren't you starting the full team in the FA Cup?
I think he started the full team that he could. Cavani is coming back from injury and was never going to play 45 minutes. Pogba is coming back from injury and was never going to play a full 90 minutes. Rashford's out with an ankle sprain and a shoulder injury. Dan James is right on the red line. He's played a lot of games recently. So I think that from my perspective, I think that Solskjaer started the best team that he could under the circumstances. I think the issue that it was a bit unbalanced and oddly shaped.
Okay.
Right? You're playing ostensibly something that resembles what he called a 4-2-3-1 with a double pivot with Matic and Fred as your double pivots, and then Pogba and Donny van der Beek in front of them. But if it was a diamond, it didn't work because you needed somebody else to play as the number 10 who's going to be more attacking, and then a midfield three of Matic, Pogba, and Van der Beek would have been more effective, but Fred and Matic tend to play at the same level, and Van der Beek. So you almost have this weird thing where you have like a 4, then a 2, and then another 2, but it's narrow. It's not like a 4-2-2 going wide or something like that. It's just very narrow. And it's a game where, I think that Solskjaer has done a lot of good things and he's grown a lot, but minutes management is an issue. They played on Thursday against AC Milan, so they got back late Friday. And a lot of those guys played on Thursday. Bissaka played on Thursday. Pogba played the second half on Thursday. Maguire played the full 40 on Thursday. Henderson played Um, you know, but he only made one substitution that entire game, and that was forced by injury when he withdrew Rashford and put on. So maybe he was saving some of these guys for this one, which is an odd way to go about doing it. I think that just tactically, he was a mess. They haven't been playing particularly great football, and I think that's has more than anything to do with the fact that those guys are exhausted.
All
The
right.
only team in the Premier League that has played more games right now than Manchester United at this point in the season is Spurs. And Mourinho will rotate his players. You know,
He rotated Christian Bale on the bench for like 6 months.
Yeah, you know, he rotates his. I don't think that, you know, I think Donny van de Beek going in and getting a start was a great thing, but I don't understand the decision to, when you're chasing a game and you need a goal, to pull out Van der Beek, keep Fred on, who's a liability.
Right. Well, I'll actually give you a pass, because I was going to be a little bit more harsh. If you're saying like fatigue was playing into it, I could kind of see that, because to me, the main problem for Manchester United was defensively. Their effort was subpar. I mean, you look, first of all, the first goal, Fred just like gives the ball to Iheanacho, scores, and that's the first goal. The second goal, Tielemans just kind of ran his way through 8 people.
I think I saw this at the end of last year, and this is, in my experience, what this team tends to do when they start to get tired. Like, they just don't think well. And I think a lot of Fred's problem and a lot of the defensive problem, especially the defensive problem especially, were like just tired minds, right? The Tielemans goal and the Fred goal both are just results of poor decision making and almost like just fatigue. They're like dead walking on the, and you want to say like the international break couldn't come at a better time, but the problem is like some of these guys are now going to go and play like are going to go and play 2 international games, and what rest are they really going to have? You know, Harry Maguire's probably going to play. We know Lindelof is going to play for Sweden. They've got World Cup they've got qualifiers coming up. Fred is going to go off and do whatever it is that they have to do in Brazil. I'm pretty sure that Brazil and CONMEBOL have already started World Cup qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
So we know if he's in that side, he's going to. Pogba and Martial have to get in. Why Martial is back in the French team, I don't know.
Yeah, for real. That's an odd one.
McTominay's got to go and play for
Scotland.
Mm-hmm. You know, yeah, great. Bissaka's going to get a rest. That's another one. I don't know why he's not. Like, there are no right backs in England's team.
Mm.
They dropped both Alexander Arnold. They dropped Alexander Arnold and did not call Wan-Bissaka. So that one surprised me. I don't know, but Luke Shaw is back playing for England, and so the only, like, Rashford's going to get healthy. Cavani's got to go and play for Uruguay. Van der Beek's got to go and play for the Netherlands. So these guys really aren't going to get a rest. And the one thing that we haven't seen in a while, because we haven't had an international break since November, is we haven't seen the post-international break COVID fallout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, after every single international break in September, October, November, we ended up with a rash of COVID cases. Certainly, if Brazil or any of the South American teams are playing anywhere in Brazil, I would.
Yeah, for real.
Like, I don't even know how. I don't even know how some of those countries would allow them to travel there. Right.
I mean, I think the deal was if you're playing in a country that isn't in a red zone for England, you could come back and play. without quarantine. So I don't know, like if they're playing away or whatever, they're just going to travel to one of the games.
I don't know, and part of the reason why I don't know is because until you brought it up, I didn't think about it, so I didn't bother to look it up. What the procedure was going to be for releasing these players to play, but you know, certainly if you've got Neymar or any of the Brazilian players, and they are going anywhere near Brazil right now, that's just a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my point is that this team is fatigued. They've played a lot of games. You know, perhaps going out of the FA Cup, although it had only saved them in the run of the season, one game, and it will shut British Will up because now he can't tell me about them losing the quarterfinal, and then losing to Liverpool the week after because we're not even in it. But they're going to have to, and now I guess really because you're out of the FA Cup, you can focus on the league and the Europa League and the league, right? Those should be your main priorities, right?
Yeah.
And it may even come to the point where, you know, maybe we get to a point in a couple of weeks with United where, you know, we've clinched a place in the Champions League, right? Not necessarily top two, one, two, like number two, but Champions League qualification for next year is secure. We're guaranteed a spot in Champions League, and you can start to like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start resting some players and stuff because the mental fatigue with them is very, very, very real. So
can I ask one question too? This is on topic, but not really. But this is my last observation of the week. Has Jamie Vardy gotten old?
Jamie Vardy had hernia surgery and has been off a little bit ever since, but he is 34 years old. Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah, I actually was wondering the exact same thing a few weeks ago. Because when you have a guy whose game is so heavily based on pace and running at and attacking central defenders, I gotta think he might finally starting to be able to slow down a bit. I do. He's gonna have to figure out a different way to get his goals because it's just impossible to keep that level, to keep that type of play going that long. You look at all the strikers who've been able to maintain throughout their careers into the mid and late 30s. They've all had to adjust their games a bit. They've all had to kind of like figure out other ways to be a little bit more crafty. And Vardy's still just a train coming down the track when he wants to attack the goal. And yeah, I have to wonder because I'm seeing these like Leicester's still putting in goals, and I go to check to see who's scoring. It's not Vardy, and that's surprising. And that's why, and that's when I started to go, okay, he might be losing a step here. So I think he needs a legit off season. It's good that he doesn't have to do any international duty. I'm glad he retired from that because I thought he was very smart the way he handled his international career. But I do think he needs to go home, rethink his game, maybe get some good therapy, get some massages going on and stuff, and try to come back again stronger next year. Because I'm not saying he needs to stop at all, because there's no way I would not play him as an out and out striker. He's still got 15 some odd goals this year. He can still do it. But yeah, I think we're both seeing the same thing. Yeah. And Mike, before you go to, I also want to make sure I plug this. One of these days in this show, you and I are going to talk for about 15 minutes about the English Championship because I'm fascinated by that league. That's why I always shoot you messages.
We can set that up. We can do. Remember, next week's an international break. We're already
we might need to talk some championship next week.
We're already scrounging the bottom of the barrel for content next week because it's an international break.
I mean, I'd love Watford is coming on like
they are, and Norwich is suddenly just like stomping on everybody, and Brentford, who was. They can't stop scoring goals. All of a sudden, they can't score goals. So, yeah, I'd love to get on some more about that. Definitely.
All right.
All right, Mike. So we want to thank you. Good week. We'll get you on next week, and maybe you and Stead can talk some EFL championship.
Absolutely.
I'm down.
Yeah, man.
So,
all right, Mike. Thanks a lot, bud. Yep.
we want to bring in our good friend Bayern Rob, talk a little bit about the Bundesliga, talk a little bit about U.S. men's national team. We didn't talk about this with Mike, but we got to get into the European draw. And hey, Stead, I'll give you a chance to gloat. Guess what team's not in the draw for any of the European games? Or wasn't in Europe, the Europa League or Champions League draw last Friday?
Wasn't Europa League or Champions? Spurs. As I said before, though, man, Spurs are inconsequential to me.
The opposite of love is not hate; it is apathy.
That's right. And that's my feeling towards Spurs. Absolute apathy.
It's not. Although I will say, though, if there is any shot that City can continue this run, and I don't believe they will. It's going to catch up with them eventually. It always does, because they do this thing where they go and compete for the quadruple every year, and then they wind up winning an F all, and I love it.
Or they just win the Man City Cup.
Or they just win the Man City Cup. But, well,
the
most
just lowly cup that nobody cares about.
Yeah, and
the cup that Birmingham City and Swansea City hold as their greatest achievements.
As long as if there's any shot that they could get the treble, because the one thing I do not want to have to admit is that City is as good, if not better, than that particular Manchester United team, which I won't say was one of the greatest teams ever. If you look how they won those games, it wasn't like they were necessarily dominating performances. It was a lot of comebacks. It was a lot of fly by your seat, but make no mistake about it, they were the first to do it, and that it still reigns supreme as one of the premier accomplishments. And I don't care what British Will says about Liverpool being the first. A true treble is the FA Cup, the Champions League, and the league. All right,
yep,
they can have their false. We won the Europa. We won the EFL Cup. No.
Yeah. No.
Okay. Sit and rotate. But Rob, how are things in Germany?
If you're a Bayern fan, they're looking pretty good, and a lot of us are pumped for April 3rd when Bayern play Leipzig, which will, by the way, will be on ESPN too. It'll be the third of 4 matches of the ESPN Plus contract with the Bundesliga that will be on TV. I imagine the last televised match will probably be one of the ones on the last match day. But yeah, ESPN2 is the rumor. Someone saw it on the guide, and you will get to see on the TV. No longer need, and if you have streaming only, you will be able to watch it on streaming as well.
Well, that makes for an interesting Saturday, April 3rd. I won't be in town to watch it because I'll be heading out to Delaware. Otherwise, I would go and gather with the Bayern fans and watch it. But it's nice, finally, after way too long, to get them on TV when it's something other than ESPN scrounging for content like they were, because the games were on ESPN early in the pandemic last year, but they had run out of content. Like they had nothing, and it was like, oh, we have the Bundesliga, we can show this live, we might as well do it because we literally have nothing else. How many times can we show professional darts
and marble racing
replays of old NBA games? I did like that.
Yeah, but they were showing a lot of old UFC fights. We're doing that a lot, which I didn't mind. I actually like to, but yeah, I get it.
The same thing. I liked it. It was nice to go back and see some of these games before, but I think it was great to have the live content. I wonder why, and I think that it will be an interesting thing going forward with all of them. Rob, we talked about this even with the Premier League, how these leagues are going to look at their rights because they want new fans. And if the emphasis is putting all of these leagues on streaming as ESPN is doing, as NBC has tended to do. What's the point in signing the broadcast contract if nobody's going to see you except your diehard fans? Like, they need casual fans. They need the person flipping through, like we were, like, oh, this is on. It's kind of cool. I may not know a lot about Union Berlin, but I'm gonna watch it, right? So it is good that they will be doing that, and I'm wondering if, you know, the Bundesliga will push for more over the air type broadcasts in their next broadcast. So how many more games so the third against RB Leipzig, is that the one where they can pretty much, for all intents and purposes, seal their 9,353rd consecutive title?
Yeah, no, that is going to be the match that if Bayern win, it's pretty much a wrap, in my opinion. The Bayern will have a decent schedule, and Leipzig will as well, but the gap will be just too big. Like, Bayern will have to just implode, and they already play they already played Dortmund, for example, right? They already play Frankfurt, for example, and then obviously they're going to be playing Leipzig, for example. So, those hard teams will no longer be part of the schedule. I believe they finished the season versus Augsburg, which is their Bavarian neighbors. Not the greatest club, but always could put up a fight. And if it's a draw or a Leipzig win, game on. This is the league is still going. There still is a decent chance that Leipzig can pull it off, but the problem with Leipzig is they just don't have any strikers. They have no one to really finish. They have a team full of midfielders, and they've had a couple of midfielders like Forsberg play up top in the number 9 position. I know Paulson's has played a number 9 position, but he has not been himself since Timo Werner left. I think they worked really well together as the striker combo up top, so that is pretty much their issue. They just don't have any stars like a Lewandowski to really carry the squad on his shoulders and take them up to the promised land. It's going to be a team effort for Leipzig if they win it, but I don't think they'll get close to the title. I think this match will be decided on. I mean, this league will be decided on April 3rd.
So, Stead,
I was just going to say, what Lewandowski's doing is absolutely bonkers. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, he has 14 more goals in the league than the guy in second place as far as goals scored. And to make it even more odd, the guy in fifth place has 14 goals. Like, I don't think Lewandowski's getting enough attention internationally as he should be right now. I mean, we need to stop talking about the typical who outside of Messi and Ronaldo do you want to talk about? If Lewandowski is not in your first breath of best player in the world right now, I don't know what you're doing. I mean, even with the dominance of Bayern Munich, this is quite remarkable.
I think and before I get to Rob on this, you know what I think a lot of the problem with that is? It is hard to see him anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, at least when he was at Dortmund and Fox had the Champions League, we could watch him in the Champions League with Dortmund. It was a lot easier to see those games than it is right now. I'm trying to think. You can't, until this Tuesday game will be the first time all season that I've had the opportunity to see him play live on network TV, non-streaming. Right.
Yeah, they don't have a beIN Sports type deal like La Liga.
Well, they don't have a beIN Sports type deal. They, CBS exclusively streaming Champions League means that he's just not reaching the audiences that he used to. And he doesn't play for a sexy international team. Full credit to him for remaining captain and being so loyal to Poland. But even when he does qualify for an international tournament, they're like 1 or 2 and done.
Yeah.
So,
but still, I mean, you got to give the guy props,
what he has done since he's one of those players. He left Dortmund, went to Bayern, and has turned into a even better player than he was. And I know he's on the bad side of 30 now, but over the course of the last couple of years since he's been there, like he's just gotten better and
He
better.
just seems so.
and
I'm
better.
sorry, Rob. Go ahead. He just seems so efficient. That's all I'm saying.
Mhm.
No, I mean Lewandowski is a chiseled specimen of a human being. He's gotten better, like not only as a footballer, but just as a human specimen. And a lot of it is owed to his wife, Anna, who is a big time fitness guru who's into martial arts. And so she keeps him kind of together when it comes to that. So he has it all. And he has not had a major injury. And just from a footballing point of view, he has gotten better the last couple of years because he has gotten a little bit less selfish. He has learned to pass the ball a little bit more, but he's still ruthless in the box. That's the thing about it. And I think a big part of it, why you don't hear his name, number one, he doesn't have the greatest social media presence. I mean, you see him on TikTok, he looks kind of awkward doing dances. But number two, the way he plays is just so technical. He's not flashy like a Suarez, or he doesn't have the crazy celebration like a Ronaldo. He doesn't have these crazy runs like a Messi. So, he does his job. He occupies space. He sets up his opponents. He draws defenders out. He does it all completely. He has a great air game. He does it all. And I was in a couple clubhouse rooms. For those of you know, there's a clubhouse app where you get talk about random stuff. And one of the biggest topics I was part of was, is Suarez better than Lewandowski? And the whole room pretty much agreed that Suarez is better, but I was one of few who defended Lewandowski. I'm like, you got to remember, Lewandowski's career is not done. Like the way he's playing, the way he's in shape, he could go another 5 years dropping 30 goals a season. He's that good. And let's not forget, he looks like he's going to break Gerd Muller's record of 40 goals in the Bundesliga. He had a hat trick when Bayern had 10 men. He had a hat trick. It's insane.
That's bonkers.
It's incredible. We're witnessing history.
It is incredible. And also, but you see the guy in the 65th minute, he doesn't have a bead of sweat in his forehead. He's just so efficient with his movement. He knows how to not overdo it. He knows when to take his foot off the gas and wait for the game to come to him. But at the same time, as you said, he knows when he needs to bare his fangs and be ruthless and just take over a game. But you see the guy come off the field. I'm like, was he a sub? Like he didn't even look like he broke a sweat at the end of the game. It's just, it's really, I mean, and as a guy too, who I'm really into, martial arts and fitness and stuff like that, and way to keep your body somewhat, limber as you get older. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I actually did what you did. I kind of read up about his wife and just saw what she was into and type of stuff she does. And it's like, people don't understand how much that level of fitness can play into so many different sports, especially in a game as physically demanding as soccer is.
So he's 32 now.
Yeah.
He's playing at a high level. Is he a guy who could go on? We said easily another 4 or 5 years. Is he a guy who could go on like a Zlatan?
Yes, I think so. Absolutely.
Still be playing at an extremely high,
I can see him at 39 still scoring 15 to 20 goals a season. Absolutely.
And it's crazy, but Zlatan had that injury too. Remember that, and he's still going.
Well, I think that was the worst part about his tenure at Man United was torn ACL and him trying to come back too soon, and then not being able to do it, and then he goes to MLS. He gets 2 relatively pressure-free seasons to get back to peak Zlatan fitness, and then goes back over, and he's a very effective player for AC Milan. He's going to be an effective player. Just got being recalled to the Swedish national team because they need the goals. Who's to say that? Now, I guess the question would be, if he's going to do something like that, is there a point in time where Bayern would say, okay, maybe we need to consider transitioning because you're getting in like 3 years, you're getting to be 35. We need to start looking at other options,
It's true.
or are they just going to ride this wave as long as they can, Rob?
I think they're going to ride it because Bayern failed twice on trying to do a transition. Number one, they signed Alexander Nubel, an up and rising keeper from Schalke, and he's just been sitting on the bench. And Neuer basically said, "No, you ain't going. You ain't taking my spot. I'm just going to do things. I'm going to win Champions League, and I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to keep being the GOAT." And then Thomas Muller was kind of wishy-washy for a little bit when they were under Niko Kovac, and there was rumors of like, we need a transition. So one of the names that was tossed around was, we got to get Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz is the guy. He's going to be the future, right? What did Muller do? Muller just, Hansi Flick comes in, and Muller just scores goals and becomes the assist master at Bayern. And so they're going to ride his wave. And, I know a lot of Bayern fans are saying, we need to get Haaland because we need a transition. The time is not right. Haaland is, he's great now. He's going to move on somewhere. I don't know about this season, but next season he's probably definitely going somewhere. Lewandowski's not gonna like take that line down. He's gonna keep playing. He's that good, And if you're getting 25 to 30 goals for the next 3 seasons, do you want to give it to that? No. And he's still playing the high pressing style. He's still pressing, which is the thing. He's in top physical shape at 32. Like, this is almost like his peak. This is like probably the best we've seen him play in his career.
Rob, you brought up Haaland. What's going on? Because I watched that game through and through because, yeah, as you guys know, I'm a mark for Big Erling. So I just remember the part that stuck out to me was a Cologne player asked for his jersey, and he basically was like, just threw it at him and marched off the field. I was like, I love it. I love it. He's mad. I love seeing the fire. What's up? What's going on with Haaland?
Well, you know what? The problem with Haaland is that, he's on a team, or Erling Haaland. The problem is he's on a team full of pretenders. Every year, Dortmund, they want to bark loud and saying, no, we're ready. We're here. We got this squad. We got Sancho. We got Haaland. We got Royce is healthy again. We got the becoming American and Gio Reyna, and Axel Witzel's dominating the midfield along with Emre Can. And then all of a sudden, just whittled down. They just lose these weird games. I mean, the game versus Cologne, they should have won this game. I mean, they're that good.
They should have won 4-0.
They have no business losing to Cologne. I mean, and that's the problem that pisses Haaland off, is that he knows this squad can play. But in a typical Dortmund fashion, they whittle down, and they just they drop points constantly. And he's pissed, he's upset because he's giving it his all.
He had a brace.
He had a brace, yes. If you go back to the Bayern game when he scored 2 goals, he probably could have scored two more if he didn't come out injured. He's that good, and the problem is that he just does not have a supporting cast around him. Like, I think Jadon Sancho's still hurt at the moment. So he's missing someone like that, someone that can has the skill to match him on that squad. And, but the honest truth is, I honestly think he's staying. I mean, he could be pissed off all he wants.
Oh, you think he's going to stay? Okay.
I think he stays because, I think the buyout clause is high. I think it's about 85 mil, 75 euros, roughly, in that ballpark. No official number here. There's not many clubs that can match it, considering COVID finances. And I think to keep the squad together, at least for one more season, they have a decent shot to get to do some damage in the league. Sancho's going to get older. Haaland's going to get wiser. Reyna's definitely going to get better as well. Who knows about Marco Reus? And they're gonna challenge at least for second place again. But yeah, no, I honestly think I think he stays, and someone's going to come in with a big offer the following summer, and who that be, I have no clue.
That's the problem. The following summer, that buyout clause is ridiculously low. I think the buyout clause is maybe 75, 80 this year. I think it's somewhere down around 45 the following year, which is why you get rid of them this year, because if you hang on to them for another year, it's not a matter of, oh, they're nobody's going to offer 75 million because they don't need to, right?
Mhm.
They structured that deal. I know if they could, they would. If they could, Borussia Dortmund would probably sell anybody but him. They probably overplayed their hand a little bit with Jadon Sancho, trying to prove that they're not a selling team, and I think they massively overplayed their hand with that one, because they need the reinforcements, and whatever obscene amount of money Manchester United was willing to give you, if it was 86 mil up front or whatever, I think they massively overpaid their hand. And the loss of Champions League revenue is going to crush them next year. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if, somebody might like, the big one
Frankfurt's
is
playing well, man. There's no, I mean, Rob, you brought it up, man. You're like, Frankfurt's good. So there's no easy path for Dortmund to get in the top four. Yeah.
No,
there's
yeah,
no
they're
easy pass,
definitely good.
and I don't think that Holland's not going to be a game to play in the Europa League, or even worse, the Europa Conference League. Are you kidding me?
Oh,
This will now officially dub the Tottenham Cup. Because it seems likely that that's where they are. Now, of course, what I really want is I want Liverpool to end up in that tournament. But
I hope Arsenal gets in that tournament. Hopefully we can get in there, man. Right?
Yeah, Stead, you that one's a little bit of a bridge too far for you.
I know, man. Can't get over Villa. Yeah.
Well, I mean, number one, you need to climb out of 10th place.
Hey, we're ninth now. We're ninth.
You need to climb all the way up to 7th place.
Yeah.
Right. Not when you're the Europa League.
Mm-hmm.
And hope that everything else plays chalk. So why don't we bring in Coach G, and if he's around?
Yeah. Hey, Rob, real quick. Talk about Frankfurt real quick. What's up with them?
I mean,
they don't want to go away.
They don't want to go away. They can play. I mean, it's Andre Silva's, their best player. But I think they just don't have the squad to hold off Dortmund. I think, especially when Sancho comes back, I think Dortmund, leapfrogs them a little bit. I don't think they're going to get past Wolfsburg. I think Wolfsburg is making Champions League. But no, I think it's going to be the top four will be Bayern, Leipzig, Wolfsburg, and Dortmund, with Frankfurt heading up to the Europa League. And then right below that, Leverkusen, or as we call them, Neverkusen, because they've been trash. And I'm in my dark horse. I would love to see Union Berlin in the Europa League playoff and hopefully play some European football. But no, man, I like Frankfurt, but I just think they don't have enough skilled players. I mean, they Frankfurt has Kamada and Andre Silva, and that's really about it. Okay. I know they got Jovic, but he hasn't. He's not the Jovic that we know when they won the Pokal with Niko Kovac. It's a different squad.
So while we wait on Coach G, join us real quick so we can talk about the draw. By the way, that draw was interesting. Rob, I want to change.
That's going to be fun on the YouTubes.
Yes.
We finally have our thumbnail. We got it. I keep cutting that out. That's our thumbnail.
I have no idea what that was, and it scared the living daylight out of me. We tried to be a professional show. We failed miserably.
Oof, man, I just got back from New Orleans. Man, Bourbon Street was phenomenal. I had a flashback right there. Someone just said, "Show me your boobs," and I just flashed them right up, man. So Oof, there we go. So what's going on, gentlemen?
Good to have you back, G.
Likewise, guys. Likewise. It's been a long time. I missed the show, actually. I truly wanted to go on last week, but I didn't have my face full of crawfish and everything, so I wouldn't be a slob. But
So
it's all good, guys.
before we get into the what I think was the best game of the weekend, G, I want to get yours and Rob's thoughts on the European draws. We'll start with the Champions League draw. Rob, if Bayern somehow negotiates their quarterfinal and semifinal matchups, they got a tough one in PSG, and then they have Man City coming up potentially in the semifinals. If they negotiate this, they deserve to be back-to-back Champions League. They will be the favorites to win it in the final, and they will be deserving. I mean, how tough a lineup is this for them?
I think Bayern are in a much better position versus PSG than they were in the final. PSG has been kind of stumbling in the league. I think Neymar, I don't know if he's back yet as well. But I just, their midfield is nothing to be scared about. I mean, they got some pacey players, obviously Neymar and Mbappe, but that midfield. I mean, I've always been a proponent that the games are won in the midfield, and having Muller, Kimmich, and Goretzka be there, it'll be too much for PSG to handle. And not to mention, the wild card is in Lewandowski. He's just too good. I think they'll go through. And now I totally agree with you. If Man City do beat Dortmund and Bayern beat Man City in the semifinals, I mean, they have to be the odds-on favorite. I mean, this is a gauntlet to go through. This is a very unfair draw to Bayern, but it is what it is. And, this is what it takes. You have to win these games to be, repeat champions. Can they do it? Yes. But, Man City is, they're so good right now. They're just so hot. But you know what? Talk to me on the end of April. Will they be in the same form? Will they have all their players available? We don't know. We shall see.
Yeah, City will also have they'll have the FA Cup semifinals and the Cup finals for the City Cup as well. So yeah, they got some other. They really
obligations.
Obligations. Good word.
I think this, and as I said before, I think this is the point in time where it starts to catch up with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's constant. We're going to compete for 4 trophies. He's going to need to make, if he wants to, as Pep has said, prioritize winning the Champions League. He's going to have to prioritize it, and he's going to have to make some business decisions.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing, though, that I can say is that unless being Pep has designs on setting some sort of record in the Premier League, they're winning that at a canter right now.
Mm-hmm.
You could take your foot off the gas and start resting some guys week to week in that and focus more on the cup competitions. It'll be interesting to see, though, if Pep does that, because I think Pep's pride and greed are the things that get in his way the most, because that's what prevents him from making a pragmatic decision to say, you know what? We're going to win the league. We're going to win the league at a canter. There's no point right now in trying to run up the score. If I want to be this, because I'm not going to remember at the end of the season how many points they have if they win a quadruple. Like, I'm not going to sit there 10 years from now and say, oh, remember that season that Bayern City ran the quadruple? They won the league with 90 points.
Yeah, they only had 84 points.
96.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rate them the accomplishment is in the silverware. So, G, I wanted to get your thoughts. What did you think of this draw?
Definitely the side of Manchester City, whoever comes out of that side, I think is gonna win it. Looking on the other side, you have Porto, strong but not super strong. You have Chelsea, they're hit or miss. But Real Madrid is slowly kind of creeping up right now. They're slowly getting their pieces, health, all this stuff they might be kind of coming at the right time together late in the season. So maybe they're kind of past that injury hill or whatever you want to say it. Liverpool is not doing so well right now. Sorry, Will. But it's one of those things that it's going to be matching up. It's going to look like whoever's going to come from the Man City side. Man City and Bayern is going to be in my eyes the final. It's going to be two phenomenal juggernaut teams, two monsters, two machines going at each other. Whoever wins that, I believe, is going to win the entire the tournament. However, it's going to be a good game. I really do think Real Madrid is going to come out of that area. I'm not a big fan of Chelsea just because they're a rival. I'm a big fan of the ABC, anyone but Chelsea kind of thing. So, if Porto can knock them out, it's going to be an easy win for either Liverpool, which I don't think is going to actually pass Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid is going to have an easy cakewalk to the finals. And from there, they'll probably get their butts kicked. So, Borussia Dortmund will kind of give Man City a trouble. I still think Man City will handle them maybe 4-3 overall, maybe 3-2. It'll be a close game, but I think, Man City will have them by 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be, this is the time of year where you just brought it up. It is too much for these guys, and they still have their domestic leagues too. So here we are, Real Madrid, who is coming up right now, and Atletico is dropping. Like, what are they gonna do? Are they going for the La Liga? Are they going for the Champions? Are they going for both? So they're kind of in a kind of quagmire right now. But for every other team, it looks like status quo right now with Man City and Borussia and even Bayern. PSG, like Robert said, they're kind of hit or miss right now. Their mid's kind of lacking. They lose a lot of ball, a lot of control, a lot of possession in the midfield, and their defense is getting slammed. But when they do turn around and they have an offensive stride, they look dominating. But I think Byron's going to shut them down in the midfield like they always do with any other team, even with 10 players, maybe with 9. Hey, we'll see a challenge. Maybe they need that kind of challenge. God only knows. But it just seems like when they have 11, it's no problem. 10, we got this game. 9, 8, whatever. But it just seems like it's just their year again. Bayern is they're peaking as a club years now. It's not just a year here and there. We're looking at a good solid, maybe 3-4 year block of just domination. So I really do think it's going to be their tournament.
Yeah, I wish, I just have to say this, Mike, because, I say this every year. Until PSG proves me wrong, they'll never win a Champions League. I just don't see that changing this year as well. I don't.
If you hate state-sponsored clubs, you have to be rooting for Bayern here, because Bayern could go through Man City and PSG, 2 oil-rich state-sponsored clubs. That it rubs people the wrong way. Right, they don't like oil, they don't like sport washing in their sport. So this could be interesting, especially considering one of Bayern's sponsors is Qatar.
Well, I am the right now. I'm going to go and dig out my Bayern jerseys because I need them right now for the Champions League. There are a few things on my list of things that I hate right now, and Bayern can take care of a number of them because they could conceivably wipe out for me Man City, PSG, Man City, and then if G is wrong and somehow Liverpool get there,
it happens.
They could. And by the way, that matchup will not be mentioned on the show as long as I am one of the hosts, because I refuse to speak that one possibility into existence lest it somehow happen. So it is now, we will from now on refer to it as the matchup that shall not be named. We will not discuss it. We will not name it. We will not talk about it. We will not speak it into existence on this show. All right. For those of you who need to figure out exactly what I'm talking about, clearly you don't listen to this show enough, because who does? And if you can figure out my bend on soccer, then you can pretty much figure out the matchup that I'm talking about, which shall not be named because I refuse to speak it into existence or allow the possibility of it to be spoken into existence. Moving right along. Somehow, well, Stead, G, it's got to be feel good somehow surviving Olympiacos, finally.
I was sweating bullets, man, that whole time.
Yeah, but we got this. We got 3 away goals though. Like, it's unheard of for Arsenal. And like that kind of just made me like a little like, oh, we could actually have a chance right now.
Yeah.
Then we give up 1 goal. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. Like, oh no, we're starting all over again.
But you felt it though, because I said in the Arsenal chat, I was like, look, anybody but the Greeks. Just don't give us the Greeks. And we got
Sure
the
enough.
damn Greeks. And I was like, crap, here it is happening again. But at least
Conspiracy.
this time around. Yeah, this time around, though, I said, hey, look, I don't want to see Ajax. That's who I didn't want to see. I was like, you know what? I'm fine playing against anybody else, including Manchester United. I just don't want to see Ajax. And I don't really know why. I just had this feeling, and maybe that remembering that game when they beat Real Madrid in the Bernabeu, and that was very pivotal game. But that's a team that knows they know how to play in Europe, and it's just
same Ajax team.
it's not, and it never is. But for some reason, they're always kind of hanging around, and I just said, you know what?
This is a much different Ajax team. This is an Ajax team that's devoid of De Ligt, devoid of Donny van der Beek, devoid of Serginho Dest.
Okay, and you're talking about the exact type of team that beats Arsenal. Like that's the team that beats them. It's always the team that loses a lot of their core, and all of a sudden, boom, beat Arsenal. It's happened. It happens time and time again. Look, you know I like to read the tea leaves, and I'm often.
Well, then if you're going to read the tea leaves, I'm kind of nervous as all get out because Slavia Prague, over the course of the Europa League, have become professionals at eliminating British teams.
Yeah. Yes, but also they have a little bit of a stain on them right now after what happened with Rangers. So they're gonna have some things they got to deal with. They do.
So Stead, I was going to bring this up to you is look at where we were last year with the same team playing Olympiacos and we lost.
Yeah.
A year later, and here we are, and now we won. You know, we won 3-1. Again,
we won away. I was doing back handsprings, man.
And,
I love it.
Like we're slowly just getting where we used to be a decade ago, but you know, whatever. It just seems like we're on the right. Maybe it's not fast enough for us fans, but we are on the right path right now. We're getting over these little small hurdles that's going to add and add and add to the overall quality of the team. That was a huge monkey off our backs. And now guess what? We can take on anyone. We're down 3-0 against West Ham. You know, and we come back. Like, well, this is not a team that does that, you know? Yeah. So
my faith in Arsenal right now is pretty low. It is. It's pretty low.
50-50 team.
Yeah, and it's considering the other clubs involved at this stage of the Europa League, you're not seeing a lot of the holdovers from Champions League. You know, I don't. Maybe you are. I don't know. But the draw is. It's not a team that I thought that Arsenal should have too much trouble. The only thing I don't like is that the fact they're playing them home first. I wish they were going on the road first.
538 gives. 538 makes Arsenal second favorites behind Manchester.
Behind Man U, yeah.
Right now, giving them a 75% chance of making the semis, 46% chance of making the final, and a 21% chance. So the only team that according to 538's numbers is better is United right now. Now I will say take what you will from them, because one thing that 538's model does is love Man City. I mean, it's sometimes I question this because the whole entire they
love Man City. I mean,
they love Man City.
That's crazy how much they love Man City.
Barcelona.
Yeah,
they still have Barcelona. Shoot, I'm surprised that they don't have Barcelona as the favorites to win the Bundesliga.
You brought up Barcelona though, man. They're creeping back. They're only 4 points down, and Atletico did win their last game though.
Atletico did win their last game. Jan Oblak came up with a big save, but they are giving right now. 538 has their model has, which the whole season has had Barcelona winning La Liga. Now it's 3 points over Atleti. It's never something that I've necessarily fancied. I think Barca and Real Madrid are starting to get it together a little bit. I have a little more faith in Real Madrid than I do in Barca. I think Barca is a messy temper tantrum or injury away from complete and utter disaster.
Mhm.
You know, I found Zinedine Zidane's comments on Eden Hazard to be very telling when he was like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with this kid. He wasn't injured before he got here. We kind of need to figure this one out because we paid a lot of money for this guy and he never plays.
He's been eating. Looks like he's been eating.
The paella, yo.
Yeah.
Love the paella.
But it's a thing over there. Again, so I have a little more confidence in Real Madrid, but to say that I also have more confidence in Athletic, because even though they didn't look great against Chelsea, Simeone's been there for a while. He's done that. He's got arguably the better team right now, and I think he can pull it back together. Everybody goes through patches in this season, but they are looking a lot like Man United insofar as they've played a lot of games. They're tired.
Mhm.
Fatigue is going to be the biggest defining factor over the course of the next couple of months.
Yeah.
I think.
I think Athletic being out of Champions League is a good thing for them if they really want to win La Liga this year. I think that's a good thing.
Well, they're out of that. I don't even know if they're. I believe they're probably still in the Copa del Rey.
Yeah,
They're
We are
not.
they're not.
All right. So the only thing they've got now is the league.
Yeah.
Which means that they're going to be playing, weekends and the occasional weekday game.
Yeah.
That'll be good for them. Give them a little bit
Yeah,
of a rest.
Suarez is on the other side of 30 as well, so him getting some rest is good because he's still on 19 goals. He still can score. He can get hot again.
Circle your calendars for May 9th. That's when they play Barcelona.
Okay.
Mhm. So it does look though like the one thing I will say, there is the possibility of a Manchester United Arsenal final.
Yeah, we've done really well against English teams in cup finals in Europe. So, you sure you don't want to make that? Let's pretend it's an FA Cup game. Just pretend it's an FA Cup.
Right.
Just pretend. Just change the trophy. Bring out an old one. Like this is what you're playing for, guys. For your
Well, the other thing that
Go
the one
play
thing that I
Wembley.
do love about the draw is that, and I think we talked about this on the show. If United gets by Granada, who I'm going to say if because they are heavy favorites, but it's United in
It's a Monaco team.
yeah.
It's just one of those sneakers, man.
Yeah.
I'm scared of them. Yeah.
I hate Monaco,
But
too.
Granada, if they get back by Granada, they would play against Roma, and I just have memories of United playing against Roma in Europe because it seemed like for 3 years all we ever did in Europe was play Roma.
Play Roma.
I mean, I think in between 08 and 09, we must have played Roma in Europe 6 times. We were every time you turned around, Manchester United was playing Roma, and I love Roma. Like I love Roma. I love
Love the
Roma
uniform.
more now since I went over to Rome, wore my Rome jersey around
Mhm.
Rome,
Yep.
and got all the love from the Roma fans.
Yep. That's why I started loving Roma from being
Like,
in Rome
I
and hanging
love
out with those Roma fans. I had a great time. Great time.
I love Roma, but I just have all of these memories going back about a decade, about 15, however many years, 12, 13 years. It just seemed like every time I turned around, we were playing Roma.
Yeah.
They were play them in the group stage, play them in the quarterfinals, play them in the group stage,
Europa.
knockout
Yeah.
rounds. All we ever did was play Roma.
Love Roma, but I won't lie. I'm still AC Milan.
No,
I'm still Milan. If I had to pick out of the two, I'd pick AC Milan. That's
Well,
always
I'm
been.
kind of
That was my one of my on my poster wall of teams that I supported because the only teams I ever heard of. I had an Ian Wright poster and a Paolo Maldini poster. So,
So
Right on.
we go too much further, and I give Stead and G a chance to wrap up on and vibe on that. What was a good game in between Arsenal and West Ham? Rob, we got to get real quick a little bit of a chat about the U.S. men's national
yeah,
team.
absolutely.
The senior men have two games against Jamaica and Northern Ireland coming up. Again, I don't suspect that we'll learn much about him. In fact, the only things that I can think that we would learn about this team would be bad things. You know, I can't remember the last. I don't think Jamaica. I think Jamaica is much in the same boat as Trinidad and Tobago are, whereas they have not played a competitive match in probably over a year. Northern Ireland, I think, will represent a little bit of a sterner test, considering the fact that they have played in qualifying, that they are a team that I think they're going to Europe. I think they qualified for Europe. I could be wrong, but they're in the midst of the World Cup qualifying. It's a team perpetually that is better than some of its parts, right? And it will represent a test for the team. I wouldn't be surprised if that result goes a little bit bonkers, because I think maybe Northern Ireland's a little bit better than people give them credit for, and Will Griggs is still on fire. But that's besides the point. I wanted to get your thoughts on the call-ups, the team selections, all that, Rob.
Well, first, as a Bayern fan, I'm really happy that Chris Richards got called up. And I can't wait to see him play with John Brooks together. Chris Richards has been doing pretty decent. He had an uneven game a couple of days ago, but for the most part, he's held his position down. So it will be nice to see them together. And Miazga will probably get a start as well. And then I'm happy to see Pulisic coming in. Healthy. He hasn't been playing much for Thomas Tuchel, which is maybe a good or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. You know, he's coming in healthy, so he's ready to go. And I'm actually interested in seeing how Daryl DK, who's at Barnsley on loan from Orlando City, how he's going to do, because he's been like the talk of the town over there in the championship. The alleged rumors are that a top 6 club offered 10 million to Orlando City for him, and Orlando City said no, which is interesting. So Daryl DK has been doing some good things over there at Barnsley. It would not shock me if they try to keep him for a season. He's been that good. Other than that, you got a couple new Americans coming in. Yunus Musa finally declared himself to be a full international for the U.S. men's national team. Luca De La Torre is finally coming back after years of being away. For a while we thought he was one of those young stars in the making, and he was playing at Fulham for a little bit, but now he's over in the Eredivisie, and he finally earned his call up again. And then last but not least, Serginho Dest scoring a brace and getting a goal off of Messi assist. Doing good things over there. I'm excited to see him play. I don't know whether he'll be on the right back or the left back position. He's primarily a right back, but usually they ask him to play left back if they want to play Reggie Cannon and on the right back position. So it'll be interesting to see. And then for all you Man City lovers or haters, Zach Steffen is the number 1. And he will probably start both games because he's deserves it. He's earned it. And he has played some meaningful minutes over at Man City. So, this is going to be a good set of games. Just to see how they're together. All the Euro kids for the most part. I think there's a couple of Americans coming over. For the most part, this is the Euro lineup. So I'm excited. I'm excited for some international play.
So a couple of things real quick. You're more familiar with him than I am. Is Chris Richards right-footed or left-footed?
I believe he's right-footed. He primarily plays in the right side of the center back pairing. He has played some right back, but actually for Hoffenheim, he's playing on the back 3 in the left center back position. So that's been his thing, and he's pushed up a little bit as well. He does push up to the midfield, and he will break a couple lines with passes. He actually had a really good assist last week. So he was all the way up in the midfield. So he does push up, but he's primarily right-footed. But yeah, it's really interesting how they've been playing him there, and he's actually been pretty decent and serviceable there. He's actually been every game for the most part that he's been healthy, he started.
The only reason I ask is because the tendency is to pair a left-footed John Brooks with a right-footed partner, which would make sense, and we have struggled at times. And this isn't a Greg Beerhalter thing. This has been a problem since he's been in the team. Finding an appropriate partner for John Brooks. Normally, he's the first man on this on the team sheet, and I doubt any of the four of us would have a significant problem with that. But finding an adequate partner for him to play with. What did you make of the Yunus Musa announcement that he was going to sign with that not sign but declare? I was in the two games that I saw him play in, what was it, October, November, I was very impressed with him. I thought that he was a good player. Beerhalter used him in a midfield three more so than on the wing, but I thought that he acquitted himself nicely. He fit in well. He had possession. Like, he did everything that I wanted to see him do. I was actually kind of happy with this. I wanted to get your reaction to that, Rob.
No, he's actually played better for the U.S. than he actually has for Valencia recently, and I think a big part of it is that he's kind of pushed to his side over Valencia when I think he does so much better when he's positioned more centrally. I think he's been playing on the right. He actually plays on the left sometimes for Valencia, but for the U.S. he plays in the middle as one of the dual number 8. So, for example, one of the lineups you'll probably see is Tyler Adams and Yunus Musa and probably maybe a Pulisic or a Reina together in the midfield, potentially. But no, Yunus Musa.
Yeah, that's gonna McKinney.
Yeah, McKinney too. I don't know if he's called up or not. He might have been called up.
I think he's got a knock or something.
Yeah, he does have a knock.
I mean,
that's the
just
reason I
in my mind, I would like a mid. We've always wanted to see that midfield and like a Musa, McKinney, Adams midfield would be just about probably one of the better midfields that I can remember, at least potential wise, playing for the U.S. men's national.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, and a big part of that is because Yunus Musa actually will take players on the dribble. He's actually shifty, skillful on the ball. He will go try to go past players and really make the defense work. And there's not too many players in the pool that can do that from the midfield position. So that's where his best asset lies. So yeah, no, you're right. I think him and McKinney together as kind of the dual 8s in the middle with Adams behind him is probably one of the more optimal lineups you have, which is unfortunately we won't see McKinney on the field during this international break.
So before we get off of this, while the senior men are playing, the U23s or such as it is, because it's not, I think, what we would put together as an Olympic, but are down in the Olympic qualifying. They won their first 2 games, setting up a showdown with Mexico for the top spot in the group. I don't know if you've caught any of that, followed any of that, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the U.S. men's Olympic qualifying exploits.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of both matches. I watched them. The first match was they were very, very rusty. And I think a big part of that was Costa Rica is in their league. They're currently playing at the moment. And a lot of these guys coming from MLS are not playing. They haven't even started a camp yet, or maybe they just started camp. So they were really weird off the ball. I mean, they barely won 1-0. And then the second game, is a different opponent. Dominican Republic is not as good. They're just not.
It's not a baseball game.
Exactly. They are not a soccer country. There's no Sammy Sosa of football over there. But yes, yeah, exactly right. But they actually held their own for a bit, and then the floodgates open, and then the U.S. scored a bunch on them in the second half. The Mexico game will be key because I think if they really show up and take it to Mexico and keep it close, that looks really good. You can take it almost like as a moral victory that whoever they face in the semifinals. And which is the one game they need to qualify for the Olympics, that you can be confident that they can get a positive result from that. So we'll see. Tournaments are weird. Tournaments are tough. You don't have the best players on your squad, especially a lot of the Euro kids. There's only one kid from Europe, and that's Sebastian Soto from Norwich. Other than that, it's a pure MLS squad, with a couple of 1D to 2D from Mexico and Canada, and the one Brazilian from Johnny Cardoso. But yeah, it's a shame, it's going through we're in this pandemic here, and we're watching the squad play because I think some of the kids in Europe who are much more skilled on the ball can definitely take defenders on. They're just not available.
So basically, each of the semifinalists qualifies. So the U.S. is into the semifinals. The game against Mexico is for seeding purposes. It's going to come down to either Canada or Honduras, right? Now, typically, if this was a senior men's team, we'd fancy our chances, but it's U23s. The Canadian U23 team has beaten us before. So is Honduras, right? So that's really the big one right there. Well, Matt, Rob, we want to thank you for coming on and joining us. We'll get you back shortly. Thanks for talking through the Bundesliga and all of that with us, and get you back in a little bit. Meanwhile,
have a good one.
Yeah, take care, Rob. Good to see you.
Later, buddy.
It is time to turn loose. Release the Gooners.
Gee, go ahead, because this is what happened. Look. All I know is I was like, I had the game on, and then I knew I wasn't gonna really have a chance to watch it, so I just kind of like checked on really quickly, and then I had to go do some stuff, and I'm looking at my phone, and I flabbergasted. What happened? We're down 2-0, and as I'm writing in the text chat is, why are we down 2-0? We're down 3-0. And I was like, well, I picked a great game to be unable to watch this weekend. Unbelievable. What is going on? And then I thought about it. I was like, you know what, though? Hey, it's an informed West Ham team. West Ham isn't fifth. They're clearly better than Arsenal this year. I probably really shouldn't be that surprised. So needless to say that I was really shocked to see that they drew the game, especially in the manner that they drew. West Ham scored 5 goals. They just gave 2 of them to Arsenal. So G, I'm gonna let you run with this one, G.
Before I give it to G, I'm gonna say it was something that couldn't have started much worse and ended much better. It was by far the most. I don't care what Mike says. It was by far the most entertaining game to watch this weekend from a neutral perspective. Probably even from a partisan perspective, it was the most entertaining game. If you're an Arsenal fan, you got to start to feel good that you could get back into this, even if 2 of them were own goals. Like, own goals don't happen from nowhere, right?
It's not a guy just kicking the ball on his own goal.
It's not somebody turning around.
Someone has to force him to do it. Yeah.
You have to put pressure on him to do it, right? It started off, and it couldn't have gone much worse for Arsenal. I think the first 2 goals or 3 goals, the 3 West Ham goals. Okay, yeah, the first one's a little bit of a not necessarily completely on defense, and more of a great Lingardesi English Messi, or Messi.
Oh, God, chap your ass.
And not really, because we can have him back if we want him.
Yeah, but I think he's one of those players that he maybe had to be trained through the Man U to play for another team to have success. I don't know if Man U will have that.
I think that I said last week to Andy, I wish him well, right? I would love to have him on the team if he's scoring goals, because that's something that we can't do. But if he's going to be a great performer at a club the size of West Ham, and that's what's best for him, if he's happy, he's found his joy for football, he's settled in, he's comfortable, and that's where he's going to be the most successful, then negotiate the fee, sell him, let the boy go on and do what he needs to do, because it's clearly that's what's in his best interest. This has nothing to do with the team thing. It's just a young man who has given his heart and soul to United and deserves the opportunity to play at this level and be successful.
Agree. And he is. It was perfect.
And the second goal was comical. I mean, that was clearly a mistake, but and a little bit on the third one. But then, then the comeback starts, right? And I thought it was interesting. Again, the difference in between, if you're an Arsenal team fan, you've got to feel good that you're able to negotiate your way back, because I have talked to you two in London, Sean, long enough to know, like, this is clearly not a game that you would have done that earlier this season. Certainly not a game that you would have done that last season or the season before, right? You'd shut up shop, huh?
Keep on going. Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
For a decade
Past-
or
Yeah.
You'd
15
shut
years.
up shop, and that would have been the end of it, and you'd run out.
Mhm.
For West Ham fans, that is how you know that they are not ready for. I guess the best way to say it is they're not a primetime ready team, right? A primetime ready team at home against. Yes, I know it's Arsenal. Yes, I know they're a quote unquote big six team, but a team, a primetime ready team does not have a 3-goal lead, give up 2 own goals, and surrender it, right? At home, right? If you're ready for prime time, you don't do it. It was
Mhm.
clear that they tried. Antonio had some things that could have easily gone in, but they didn't have the finishers. There's just that thing that's missing that leads me to believe that, as Andy said, they are a
Mm.
pretender for the top 4. Europa League would be great for them. I actually still stand by my original statement. I think the European Conference League would be the best place for West Ham to land to give them training to compete in Europe. All right, G, the floor is yours.
Well, I want to tell a story real quick. So, in my classroom, I have a bunch of Arsenal stuff, and over the years, I've always had these little punk kids talk shit to me. Oh, your team songs, blah blah blah. Well, I finally get a kid a couple of years ago who's a West Ham fan, and I'm laughing and laughing, like, dude, why the hell are you a West Ham fan? Why do you even have a uniform of West Ham? And for whatever reason, he decided to give me a couple of texts on Saturday. He said, "Hey, buddy," or Sunday, "Hey, buddy, how you doing? What's going on?" Remember that conversation? And he was blowing me up, just talking all this crap. So eventually, he said, "Hey, West Ham is still West Ham." So what's meant is they're going to have a 3-goal lead, and they're going to give it up. They're going to either lose or they're going to, here we go, tie against Arsenal. So it was funny to see that he's like, "Yeah, we're having a great year, but West Ham's always going to be West Ham's always will be West Ham." But Arsenal right now is kind of the antithesis of their season. They're going to have ups and downs. It's a roller coaster. We just are going to sit back and enjoy this ride, because ultimately they are a 500 team. It doesn't matter, what they're going to do. They're going to win. They're going to have comebacks. They're going to blow leads. It's just that kind of team right now. However, hopefully now with this 3-0 comeback, maybe this might spark something that they'll never kind of get down, or they're always going to fight. We didn't see this fight in them last year or the year before. Maybe with this kind of new blood, and it's kind of, hey, we came back from 3-0. Sorry, we beat Olympiacos. We got a new feel right now. It's a good juju. Here we are down 3-0. Now we're tied 3-3. We saved a point. So this might carry on to the next game, to the next game, to the next game. This might carry us over into Europe, and maybe go against Man U in the final to beat them. So you never know where one game will kind of start or spark the season. Maybe it was our very first was Chelsea, our very first, I guess you want to say, big 6 win. And after that, we're kind of just going up and up and up. And now we just got the Olympiacos off our back. And now we just came back from 3-0 down. Like, this is a different team. I'm still on the fence. I can go either way. But right now, I'm seeing good signs that we haven't seen before. Signs that they would never come back from 3-0, 3-1 against Olympiacos, and they gave up 1 goal, and they still not quit. So there's something that is kind of brewing. We've been saying it last year and even this year. Is it Arteta? Even though halfway through the season, like, if we get them out, we got to get them out. But now something has changed. So he gets some new players in here. Allgard is a phenomenal player. If we can sign him, I know we won't, but we can keep him right in the center. Dude, he changed up the entire flow of the game. So it's one of those things that if we can keep 1 or 2 good players, like, we have a solid team right now. We just need to have, miles under their feet. We need to have some battles. We need to have these 3-0, down 3-0 to come back and possibly now win 4-3. So we see this. We've seen this before. However, I'm going to sit back with a bag of popcorn and just watch the Arsenal train wreck or roller coaster as it continues to happen.
I'll tell you what, Stead. I was watching the game and I had the BBC live text on. halftime, after it was 3-0, the calls for Arteta's head,
Oh yeah.
very, very loud.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
It's-
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because what we're seeing is we're seeing a team implementing tactics that they're not good enough to implement. And the fact that Arteta doesn't appear to be willing to play to his strengths based on his squad is extraordinarily frustrating to watch. Now,
I would argue
now,
though that I think that he has at times when he's played to what they're doing best at the time. I remember talking to you all last year at the end of last season when he was going with the three at the back and it was working, it was giving you stability. For some strange reason, he started pulling off victories with that three at the back. And I said, that's not a good idea. I understand this is a bad defensive move. People are going to figure out how to play with it, right? Stuck with it through the first part of this season. Then it stopped working. Went back to the back four. All of a sudden, so I don't want to say that he's implementing tactics that the team is not good enough to play.
right. That's what I was getting at. What I was getting at is that it's the same thing that Chelsea Mike was talking about with the issues that Frank Lampard was having and that he was kind of concerned with Tuchel is, and we've said this time and time again, is that he's still putting together his best 11 team. He doesn't know yet what combination of players are going to work. And actually, the fact that Arteta is still heavily vocal about the transfers are showing that he's still looking to build the roster. The roster isn't where he
Does he
wants it
not
to
know
be
what
yet.
his best 11 is at this point in the season with the players that he has? Because I would argue if you're at this point in the season and you don't know what your best 11 is with the players that you have, then Houston, we have a serious problem.
Exactly, but
You might want to find a new
I'm
job.
not refuting that. I'm
Yeah.
not refuting that. But let me finish my thought here. It's I think that there's a mistake if other teams simply think that the Chelsea model of management is going to be successful all around. That's very, very. Say what you want about tactically or disagreeing with Arteta. Arteta has given this team something, G, you just said this, that they have not had in well over a decade, and that's grit. This team hasn't had it. And I've said this a couple of times on the show that even if the team doesn't seem to be gelling or the glue may not be there, or they're not quite sure where they're supposed to be, or there may be some confusion going on, there is fight in this squad that this team has not had. And fight can get you points, especially when you're still tinkering with your lineup. And I'm not lineup as in best 11 who's going to start every game, but who's actually on the squad. There's still a lot of work to be done. So I'm not going to sit here and beat the drum about this season. We're almost 30 games into the season. This season's kind of done. It's kind of done. And you said this last week, Mike, that it appears that the table is kind of taking its shape right now. And it is. If Arsenal finishes 8th to 10th, is it really that much of a difference? Is it really that big of a deal? It's not. It's not. So
I think for fans it is. We want that lowest number
but
possible.
it really isn't though. It really isn't. It is for simply
We
the
don't
way
wanna-
somebody feels.
Yeah, but we don't want to be
isn't for
behind,
moving forward.
West Ham. We don't want to be behind these teams that we've just dominated over centuries. It seems
Understood.
like,
Understood. But
we're 10th. Like,
but it's still
in
in the grand scheme, though, it doesn't really matter because as an Arsenal team, as Arsenal fans, are we looking to qualify for Europa League and Champions League, or do we want to win the Premier League? Like, what do we want to do as Arsenal fans? I would prefer to be competing for Premier League and Champions League titles, not simply being part of the conversation. And so when you look at it from that perspective, to say that we're no longer a squad that's going to be doing that anymore, then what's the point of firing your coach every year? If you have no intentions of being a team that's going to be competing for Premier League and trying to compete for Europe as winners, then what's the point? What's the whole Big Six thing? What does it matter anymore?
I'm with you 100%. I believe like coaches need to be given time, right? Mm-hmm. I also understand this. Right now it's easy because there's not that guy out there, right? Once Poch got a job, the managerial train sort of dried up, right?
Yeah, but the reports are coming out now that Allegri was offered the position and he didn't want it.
Okay.
So it's not like coaches are sitting there going, "Ooh, I can't wait to get the Arsenal job."
But
Not really seeing that.
we don't know why Allegri didn't want it, and that's a
The
problem
point is
for
he didn't want it.
Arsenal. Well, that's a problem for Arsenal.
Yeah, it
right?
is.
That's a problem for Arsenal, but hey, maybe it works out that there's not that guy. So the thing is, like, if you have that guy or you have the opportunity to get the guy and you don't, that's when you jump on the managerial merry-go-round and it gets rough.
Yeah. And I don't want to be there. I really don't want to be
Well,
there.
Yeah, but Tony Post is out there.
Yeah, like,
he had some of those old
whether or
legends.
not
just
you
pull
want to
off the
be
deathbed
there,
to come
Yeah,
over.
he'll get us 40
let's be
points.
honest, unless all of us are convinced by, in your case, Mikel Arteta, in my case, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we're on it, right?
Yeah.
Because it takes one person to lose their job and a string of bad results, and we're right back where we started. And the same question is, do you feel confident enough in the progress that you have made to this point with this person to turn down the opportunity to sign that? And we have all sat here and said sometimes it feels like it was a matter of one or two results. Matt and I sat here and talked about Ole in October, after the rough start and the Arsenal loss, and said if he doesn't get the result in the Europa League game or the Champions League game and against Everton, it's like curtains.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? He did. They persisted. We're up to second in the table. Y'all talked about how if he had lost to Chelsea over the festive fixtures and that losing run had continued just a wee bit longer, it would have been curtains, right? We're literally talking about a match or two here or there. That could be the difference in between keeping the manager and firing the manager. And as much as I am a proponent of give them all the time in the world, we know that's not the case.
Yeah, that's true. And also that won't change your results. It's not gonna change your results because Mike, Mike, you brought up a very good point though. You said opportunity to sign.
Mm-hmm.
That leads me to believe that there is a coach out there that is waiting for a club like Arsenal to come and get them. I don't see that coach existing.
Well,
you didn't hear even a coach like Jose Mourinho. He didn't say he wanted the Arsenal job. He said he wanted the Spurs job.
It wasn't a chance to hire him.
It doesn't matter, but that's what he said. And if that's what he said, I wanted the Spurs job win right after they were after a Champions League final. So that's all I'm saying. I just don't see a situation where there is a better coach that's out there that Arsenal can go get right now in the middle of a rebuild. I just don't see that happening.
There isn't. Right?
Which solidifies my point.
Unless you really, 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 really love Brendan Rodgers 2.0.
Yeah, but I'm not sure Brendan Rodgers would want the Arsenal job over the Leicester job. I don't know.
It's more money, a bigger stadium, and a transfer budget.
Is there more money though? Is there more money for him? I don't know. I don't know. Arsenal just took out a big loan. I don't know. That's all I'm saying. I don't know.
Look,
Stan Kroenke
can bankroll it if he wants. He spent $3 billion on a doggone football stadium. Now maybe he's tapped out because he spent $3 billion on a doggone football stadium, but
it's his wife's money too. Huh? That's his wife's money too. It's Walmart money.
It's Walmart money. He's just using it for his fun.
Talk about marrying.
I think it's good, but the other thing is I feel OGS and Arteta are very closely tied together in this respect. They're both the sorts of managers who got these jobs earlier than a lot of people would have predicted.
Agreed.
That they
100% agree.
They should have, having not necessarily come in with a CV that indicates success into two of the biggest clubs in English football and the world.
Mhm.
And you're going to get a little bit of leeway because of your former connections to the club.
Mhm.
However, there's going to be a point where you're going to have to show demonstrable progress.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, as it stands right now, OGS can lean back and say, look, we are on track to qualify with a higher league position and more points than we have in any of the previous 3 seasons. Right? If you want progress, I hand you progress.
Mhm.
Give me more money. Arteta has a slightly more challenging job because Arsenal is in a position to finish worse than they have in a long time
Mhm.
with no European qualification
Mhm.
and a desire to sign a player who you just talked about, G, and Odegaard, who is a loan signing and would be a great player for you. I've watched what the difference that he has made. He's in a good situation. He would be a great player for you. But who's to sit here and say, like, oh, I'm going to stay at Arsenal and help with this rebuilding project when I could go to, I don't know, Leicester and play in the actual Champions League?
Or Odegaard goes back to Real Madrid. Like, why would you not want to play with them when you're
Yeah,
going to
I mean, I think you have to hope that it's a player like Odegaard who's going to get frustrated with being on the bench and know they can start for Arsenal. That's kind of it, though. I mean, that's got to be the situation.
He's still a young enough kid where it's like, you're going to have to pay me a boatload of money and convince me on a rebuilding project.
Yeah.
To get me involved in this.
And Arsenal loves doing that. Look at 88 million to Pepe. He plays off the bench and maybe comes in here. Like, we just throw money to
but Pepe was playing in France. He's playing in Ligue 1, which is a little bit different than the Ligue.
But still, we threw money for nothing. So we got plenty of money just laying around.
That's
so
true.
why not?
All I'm saying is this. If we're sitting here and we're coming up on Boxing Day fixtures in less than a year from today, and Arsenal's still in 10th, then heads will definitely roll. Absolutely.
If you are sitting in 10th at Boxing Day next year and heads haven't rolled,
yeah,
I've got serious questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who dropped the ball on that?
I always give a little bit more time. I always over kind of shoot a little bit just for safety purposes. But I mean, again, but the reason why, as I'm saying, is I think though, if Arsenal holds serve the rest of the season and finishes in 8th or 9th or 10th, I just don't see it really being any worse than it is now. So it's like, okay, because the season sort of is already over. So let's just look, but let's just say this though. If they finish 10th, but final in Europa League, will that buy him? I think that'll buy him some more time. I do.
If they finish 10th and final in Europa League, if they somehow finish 10th and win Europa League and backdoor their way into the Champions League, you're coming home with a trophy and Champions League qualification,
which changes everything. And you got to remember, Arsenal's not good in Europe.
That changes everything, and because that starts messing over other people, and you get to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's true. But don't forget, Arsenal's not good in Europe. Arsenal does not play well in Europe. They've won one European trophy. That's it in the whole history. So,
but if you're a player, that's all you want. You want to play in that tournament.
Yeah,
so if Arsenal is coming around, they're going to throw you money. You're like, hell yeah, I want to be known.
But that's what I was saying. But that's what I'm saying. It's a bigger deal.
Arsenal's won one trophy in Europe when, for many years, it was harder to qualify for Europe. You won the one trophy under Wenger. You can blame him or not for not being more successful in Europe, right? That's a Wenger thing, not an Arsenal thing, because Unai Emery got him there. I think he got exposed when he got there.
Yeah, he laid an egg.
He laid an egg, but who's to say he couldn't have gone back and done it? I think that's more that Arsenal has won one trophy in Europe is more a tradition of how hard it was to qualify for it early, and then some of Wenger's short-sightedness playing in Europe during his tenure, which encompassed a lot of very important time, right? You know, I will say that I personally believe that Sir Alex should have won more than the 2 that he won. He admitted later in his tenure that he was naive about how to compete in Europe for a lot of years. Ergo, he had those teams in the late aughts, early 2000s with the likes of the White York, who probably should have won more and didn't, right? I think that you only won one is a matter of circumstance, not like, oh, Arsenal doesn't play well in Europe.
Well, okay, but look, you have to give me the ability to say that, because it's all measured in success. And if the success isn't there, then I should be allowed to say that. So, but Mike, my point is that if they're able to win that tournament, it is a bigger deal because Arsenal has not won these particular tournaments before. That's the crux of my opinion.
Okay,
That's all I'm stating. And I get what you're saying, but that deviates from the point that I was trying to make, is that if they were to win that, the 10th place finish this year would mean literally nothing because Arsenal does not have that silverware. That's my point. That's it.
If you win a European title and you finish in 10th, of course it doesn't.
Yeah. So I can still say it though. It's like you're saying, like I'm not allowed to say it. I'm allowed to say it. I was trying to qualify what you were saying and point out something, but I don't care who you are. If you are finishing 10th in the league and you suddenly win the European title and you come back with the Champions League place and you finish 10th in the league, doggone it, yeah, that was a success. Which negates the fact that they're in. But that negates the fact, though, that if they're in 10th place by Boxing Day next year, that heads will roll. Heads won't roll if that happens. Heads won't roll if they're in 10th by Boxing Day.
I personally,
that's what I think.
I personally disagree with that. I think if you are in 10th and win it, yeah, everybody walks off and feels good about this year. If you turn around and you're in 10th next year at Boxing Day, then again, I'm going to stick with what my original assertion was. If heads haven't rolled by that point in time, there's something wrong, right? Because you can't hope to manufacture a 10th place finish in a Europa League victory every year, right? And so the idea would be, oh, we finished 10th, but we won the Europa League. We will progress. Progress doesn't look like a 10th place at Europe. But okay, but we are geez, that one got away from me. Okay. It's not every day that I get to yell at Stead.
I know it's because we don't get to go to the pub anymore, you know. At least I don't get to go anymore.
and Stead's telling me when I pound my desk, it echoes, but I don't know anything else to do. That's how I make my points.
The camera shakes a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, man. Mike, we were worried about this show. We were actually worried about this one. This one turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, I was seeing the text message. I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, I'm going to hop on early just in case I need to help out a little bit. Because I came in about 15 minutes early. I'm like, holy shit. So I saw that. Like,
you know what, though? I will say every time that we have said those exact things, it normally turns out like this.
Yep.
You know, low expectations help.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you can have lower expectations than this podcast.
Yeah, it's accepted.
Hey, man, it's the highlight of my week, brother.
Every time I think I have scraped the bottom of the barrel, G flashes everybody.
Oh, so I told my girlfriend, I go, my job now every week is to make you guys laugh. Somehow, some way, that's my shtick. Kel's got the 8-ball. I'm here to make an ass out of myself, to make you guys laugh. So challenge accepted.
Right, that one just caught me out of surprise. But
perfect. So it worked. Hey, baby, it worked.
It worked.
Yes, it totally worked. I was kind of like, and this is what I have chosen to do with my Mondays. I try
You
to
did
take
say
them
it was the
seriously.
worst 2 hours of your
All right,
time. So
all right. Let's get out of here. Come on, Mike,
All
wrap
right,
us up.
but so, yeah, this has been fun. London Sean, we hope you feel better. I didn't say this to Mike when he was on, but his grandmother passed over the weekend, and so our condolences go out to Chelsea Mike. Thank you, because there was a little bit of delay, and it looked like Mike.
He was
It
laughing.
looked like he was laughing as I was saying Mike's grandma died.
no, Mike was
Condolences,
not
Chelsea,
laughing
Mike.
whatsoever.
No, the screen froze. The screen froze.
The screen froze.
Bad connection. Bad connection.
Yeah, he was not laughing as I said that Mike's grandmother passed. So
No.
our condolences go out to Chelsea Mike. We thank him for coming on. Big shouts out to Bayern Rob, G, and again, thanks as always, Stead. We did something this week. I have no idea what it was, but we did it. And we will try and do it again next week. So for Mike and the cast of dozens, this has been the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. See you next week.